July 25th, 2021, 3,305. To wake and call your name at 4 in the morning. But you, of course, aren't here. It's been over a year and a half, in fact, since I had even a visitor set foot in my apartment. I'm having so many random thoughts this morning. It's going to be a really good day. I'm not sure why that's stuck inside of my head along with everything else that it is right now at such an early hour because it sounds like it's raining out. Because a couple of minutes ago we texted each other a few words. Well, he texted me a few words. Mine were, as usual, a bit more than a few. For a moment, all the good feelings I have about this incoming day are wearing with each line that I write with my pink felt tip paper meat, which I now notice matches the circular mouse pad that I use and has gold, violet, and pink. Once upon a time, maybe. Um, Stripes across an off-white, a pattern one might see through a Louis Vuitton window, I think, or in Goyard, which I think of as a similar but more colorful department store than that I am not even certain is in business anymore. Stores pop up out of nowhere when you've believed them long out of business existence. If you've, I've even thought about them at all. But to me, they simply cease to exist when the local store suddenly shuttered, and I'm left with wondering, but for a short moment before the memory of it ever being there is gone. I say these things as if they're what everyone presumes, but these are, as far as I know, for certain, but my own thoughts. No matter it might seem that they qualify as somewhat universal. Why? It is these lines are somehow juicing my mood, somehow back to where it was at the top of the page. I really do not know. But isn't it fortuitous, though? As the pink ink, and I can tell you here that there's a more appropriate name for this color, but while I can see that clearly, I, as usual, cannot begin to recall. So, what is there for me but to call it pink? As the other names I'll no doubt never learn, as the pink ink is emptied from my paper mate, which I ever so lightly grasp, as it moves from one line to the next, leaving a more legible than usual for me these days trail. The speed with which I do this, ever slower and slower, one thinks the death of a close loved one such a melancholy notion that it seems we often block or shield the thought from our imagination. It's just too tragic for us to think. Or is this just like the rest of these pink thoughts, just to me? When such a thing as this hits, does it not seem for at least a length of time that seems incessant just to be sad and experience for any one of us that is left here to live? Of course it has that, and is that. Of course, it's one more thing that sitting here this morning, having just awoken only a few minutes hence, I am thinking, and as I pause for just a moment, not a bit of pinkish purple ink, thinking that I must have a mostly often offset perception, one that is just a little bit unusual about the death of ones that are held dear, and not just after the dear one is departed, whether recently or a long time ago, but in particular if it's recent, particular someone you or I may have loved, held very dear, but all of a sudden is no longer, is but, as it can be seen, newly departed, the one that was loved and is now gone. How one's outlook, one's general disposition must in particular affect how one might generally perceive such passing. Who can unfix such predetermined notions, I wonder, on this cool San Francisco morning as I sit in my cozy pad atop the more and more comfortable bed, my place, the home, the room in which I have lived now for over 1 year, and a half. It feels so much softer than it did when I first arrived. How that happens. How a place changes so irreversibly once it has been lived in. What seemed like such a minuscule space filled with such solid steps, such hard-edged corners that are tucked in here and there and at such solemn angles, corners poking about as well, nothing but dead hard ends and edges. And yet look now at where I sit, with my small, feeling, almost sensual, facing my block circular fan, the Honeywell, that today is sitting atop a box that sits upon my bed, and it is leaning, the box that is wrapped in a soft and fuzzy looking linen, leaning like I think, just now, having not had such a thought about this box, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, so that the circular Honeywell fan that sits atop the box is almost touching right at my face, softly blowing the air that is in the room into and around my mouth, my hair, my nose, my ears, my scalp, and all the skin my face is made of. As I write, the pink or whatever colored paper mate, wriggling around in my sort of almost script, the ink makes curls and slashes, strides and gashes, almost indistinguishable from each other, and again, and even slower, has now reached, and soon thereafter finishes doing so, at the very bottom of this lined page, atop a most comfortable spread, which I suppose would actually be called a coverlet, right here beneath me, between my skin and the sheets that sit upon the mattress that is the top of my most comfortable bed. It ain't comfortable.